This is the Brewery Explorers Podcast. I am Noah Jones, joined as always by my craft beer loving friends, Blake Longfellow and Eric Burgasser. Blake, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been pretty busy lately. I just launched a local Miami craft beer podcast that's covering more of the Dayton area, talking to Dayton brewers and anyone that's in the Dayton craft. I've done like Bach Family Brewing. I've done the Cellar up in Troy. Eric and I took on Branch and Bone last week. That will be coming out.
Oh, nice.
It'll probably already be out before this comes out. But no, it's going well. I'm really enjoying it. Dayton has a lot of good craft beer there, and I don't feel like it gets covered like it should, so that's why I'm taking this on.
Awesome. Well, I hope that our listeners will give your podcast a listen as well. Eric, I know that you were spending, I don't know when you did it exactly, because I haven't watched any March Madness, unfortunately, but I know that you were taking video of the first four for March Madness in Dayton.
Yep, I was there Tuesday night, so the first night, and I saw a team, probably some are saying the worst team to ever be invited to the tournament in Virginia.
Oh my.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I could say I think Bowling Green's team would have had a better showing.
Oh yeah. Gotta love that BG Falcon attribution. Hey, fellow beer lovers, if you're as passionate about the perfect pour as we are, you'll understand why keeping your draft lines clean is so crucial. That's where our friends at Line and Tap Beverage Services come in. Based right here in Cincinnati, they're not just another service company, they're enthusiasts committed to ensuring your beer tastes just as the brewer intended and meeting the highest Brewers Association standards. Their team doesn't just work on your system. They bring a level of care and friendship to every job, ensuring that your draft system is in tip-top shape. So, whether you're a brewery, a bar, or a home enthusiast, head over to lineandtap.com. Their easy form lets you tell them all about your system, and they'll help you pick the perfect services for your needs. Remember, it's Line and Tap, where quality and passion flow as freely as the beer. Cheers to pure flavor. Our guest today is none other than the City of Hamilton's Municipal Brew Works co-owner, Jim Goodman. Jim, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to have you on the show. We're really excited to talk about several cool things that are happening in very, very few parts of the United States.
Yeah. We've got an eclipse coming. We've got hotel stuff going on in town. We've got D.O.R.A activity. We've got all kinds of stuff. So yeah, let the questions fly and I'll do my best.
Great. Well, I think Blake's going to ask you sort of the beginning part. We always sort of start with a very specific question. Blake, why don't you take it away? So
how did your journey in craft beer begin?
Like many others, home brewing, Mr. Beer, a Mr. Beer kit. I am also a Bowling Green grad. And when I went back one year for an alumni outing, one of my close friends at Forest Creason Golf Course brought some of his own homebrewed beers, and we had one. And I said, "Hey, who's this from? Who did this?" And he said, "I did." And I said, "Okay, now I'm involved. Now I'm intrigued." Got a Mr. Beer kit for I think it was whatever next gift giving holiday it was, birthday or Christmas or something like that. Brewed a couple really bad batches, and then but that really kind of wanted me to, or kind of sparked an interest to try and get better at it and to keep doing it. Now that guy that taught me how to do it is also one of my business partners with Municipal Brew Works.
Oh, well, that leads us to the next question then. How did Municipal Brew Works begin?
So funny you mentioned that, because yesterday, March 24th, was the 10-year anniversary of my first walkthrough of the municipal building.
Wow.
It was abandoned, or pretty much abandoned. The city's SWAT truck was actually being garaged in the old fire department section. But the building itself was very underutilized. There really wasn't much going on in Hamilton. They had just opened up the River's Edge Amphitheater, and the Hamiltonian Hotel had just been taken over by a Courtyard Marriott. So, but the storefront occupancy on High Street and Main Street wasn't necessarily very strong. And we walked through the building. It had tall ceilings, floor drains because it was an old firehouse. Hamilton has some of the world's best tasting tap water. They have won.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they have won the Berkeley Springs World Water Competition twice. They've won gold medals for their tap water. And I had been.
And we know in brewing, water is
it is essential, and
it's important.
we were one of the few breweries that don't add any kind of minerals or salts or anything to our water. We filter out the fluoride and the chlorine that the water department puts in. We have it checked every quarter, but that's it. It's very consistent. I call it the Goldilocks water because it's just right. If you're trying to do a beer like an Irish dry stout where you want like a really hard water, you can still do it. If you wanted a soft water for a particular style, you can still do it. So, I call that the Goldilocks water. So we knew it had good water, floor drains, tall ceilings that you could put pretty decent sized fermenters in, great patio right on the river. And we said, you know what, that's where I met my other business partner, who was our head brewer, Sean Willingham. He was looking at starting a brewery as well. He was an apprentice at another local brewery here in Cincinnati, and wanted to create his own brewery. And we met on the 24th of March in 2014 and started to sit down and talk about plans.
So you were already in Hamilton before you were planning on doing this brewery. You didn't just come for the water, right?
Correct. Yeah. I, after graduating Bowling Green, I met my wife at Bowling Green. We're Falcon Flames. So, and she was born and raised in Hamilton. So, she went and got her graduate degree. And then after she got her graduate degree, we both got jobs, that took us closer to her family here in Hamilton.
Gotcha.
So when you guys opened, did you have any core beers you started out right away with, or just?
We did. We were a little restricted in terms of what we could do in starting the brewery because we were in such a historic building. The building itself was built in 1935, and it was part of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal to get us out of the Great Depression. So there's a federal project plaque in the building, but started building it in 1933. It was commissioned in 1935. So it's not like we could go knocking down walls and putting in a bunch of fermenters and canning lines and things like that. In fact, those walls, you're not knocking down a lot of those walls. That building also served as a tornado and a bomb shelter. So it is very well put together. So we went through the building. We said really about the most we could do is fit 4 30-barrel fermenters in there and a 30-barrel bright tank, and then a 15-barrel brew house with that. So that's kind of what we ended up doing. So when we opened, we had 4 core beers to open with. We wanted to make sure before we start, I guess, crawl before you can walk. We want to make sure that we got some consistent batches under our belt, some beers that were true to the style before we started to make other different batches and styles to showcase. So we had 4 beers. It was our Courageous, which is a wheat IPA. We had our Station 2, which was a rye pale ale, our Midnight Cut, which is a kind of more of a chocolate porter. And then, of course, our flagship beer, which is our Approachable Blonde.
And are you still making beer, or are you just running the show?
I do when I can. We opened up a second location at Spooky Nook. We were very fortunate in terms of early success in Hamilton. Like I said, there wasn't a lot going on in Hamilton. So when we opened, really the community just opened their arms to us, and it's no longer our brewery. It's kind of the city of Hamilton's brewery. So our, 7-year marketing plan and things like that, we kind of hit that at about year 2.5. So we were kind of stuck. The blessing and the curse is the tanks are full. When the tanks are full with the high demand beers, that's a blessing. But the curse is you have no innovation because the high demand beers require you to keep those tanks full. So we ended up a little over a year ago, we opened a second location with a 7-barrel brew house and 15-barrel fermenters over at the Spooky Nook Sports Complex, which is the former Hamilton Champion Paper Mill.
Gotcha. I used to live in Mansfield, Ohio, and there was a coffee shop and a carousel in the downtown area. And I don't know if you know anything about Mansfield, but for a while it was a fairly dangerous city. It's at this like bizarre crossroads for highways to do a lot of drug dealing in the city. And with the coffee shop and the carousel, it brought families down to the downtown and almost completely changed the way that that city now looks. Do you feel like your brewery may have done anything like that?
Well, we get a lot of credit for that, and it's not lost on me. I think we were just one of the pieces, uh, but I think it showed a lot of potential small business owners and entrepreneurs that Hamilton was not dead. Hamilton is was at the time it was an untapped market. It has very loyal patrons, and if you put a product out there and you bring the community along with you, get involved in community events, try and highlight, reasons to bring the community together. That it's, I mean, it's been amazing. When we opened in 2016, the storefront occupancy of High Street was around 18%. And by October of 2018, all of the storefront occupancy on High Street in downtown Hamilton was full. It's 100%.
Wow.
And since we have opened, we've seen 57 small businesses open in the downtown area around us. So that has been a something that we absolutely just love and adore. And what one of the most interesting things that you're going to find in Hamilton with relation to the businesses, it's all about cooperation over competition. I think Hamiltonians know what it's like when business leaves. We had the paper plant, both paper plants shut down, department store, an insurance company's regional headquarters, the hospital, one of the hospitals even merged and left town. Banks, they all left. So now that Hamilton is kind of riding this wave of prosperity and entrepreneurship and really businesses that are focused on the betterment of the community, they don't want to see that go. So Hamiltonians will support the businesses in town for sure.
Because I also see like Third Eye just came into Hamilton as well.
Yeah, love.
Were you guys excited to see them coming in?
100%. Love those guys. Kelly and Argo and the Toms and Tim. They're great people. First off, next they make great beer, and that collaboration. We've done a couple collabs with them. When they announced at the city managers meeting that Third Eye was coming to town, we had found out a few weeks before, and we immediately reached out to them and said, let's do a collaboration, and we're going to tap it the day that they announce that Third Eye is coming to town. And you can have it in your Sharonville tap room. We'll have it in our Hamilton tap room. And it'll just be this great celebration that you guys are expanding and opening up a second location in town. And honestly, what that does is it creates a destination for craft brew lovers. Now you can go to Hamilton now and you can visit Third Eye. You can visit Municipal Brew Works. You can go across the street from us to Casual Pint. They have 32 different craft beers on tap. You can go across the bridge, Looking Glass, who runs the restaurant, but it's Fretboard's Public House. You've got all the Fretboard beers there. So, and there's also a place now called the Hamilton Urban Backyard and the Hub, and they have on Main Street, I think, 12 beers on tap, and it's all local. They only do local Greater Cincinnati beers. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great point that I didn't really think about, is that you're sort of becoming a tourist attraction for major fans of beer who I definitely know in this city it's a reason to go up. I personally love Hamilton for that arch or that park. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's that outdoor park that's phenomenal to walk through during all seasons, but I really like it during spring and fall.
Yeah, that's Markham Park. So Markham Park, they broke ground after we opened there because of also Markham Apartments. So Markham Apartments They started groundbreaking in Markham Apartments shortly after. It was about a year, I guess, or two after we had opened our doors, and then the park came in. And so, yeah, the park is fantastic. We've got the Hamilton Flea, which is on the second Saturday of every month in the summer, and it's just this great artisanal craft vendor showcase. It's also in the D.O.R.A district, so your designated outdoor refreshment area. I think Hamilton, I believe, has the largest acreage in the entire state of Ohio in terms of D.O.R.A. You get a D.O.R.A cup, your feet are going to be tired and you're going to be drunk before you end up walking around the perimeter of it, for sure.
For sure. Well, before we talk about D.O.R.A stuff, on April 8th for, a minute, 42 seconds, your brewery is going to be in what they're calling total darkness, thanks to the solar eclipse. And for those who have forgotten what a solar eclipse is, I know science was a long time ago for me. It's when a moon glides over the sun and along its path, the world will turn as dark as it is during the nighttime. So first of all, that's got to be really exciting. And I know that you all are doing a ton of things to celebrate that moment.
We are. We brewed a beer called Path of Totality because Hamilton is in what is considered the Path of Totality. That Path of Totality is exactly what you talked about, where you're going to get complete darkness, not partial darkness, but the moon will basically blot out the sun. You'll have a little corona of light around it, but that's about it. Animals that are normally nocturnal will start, chirping and chiming because they think it's night out. It's going to be crazy, but it's happening at 3:09 in the afternoon. The guy, the Bowling Green grad that taught me how to homebrew, who's one of my business partners, lives in Wapakoneta, which is where the Neil Armstrong Air and Space Museum is. And they are also in the Path of Totality, and they are expecting anywhere between 70 to 100,000 visitors for the eclipse there.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. My grandparents live in Upper Sandusky, and they had a whole newspaper article written about how they need to buy all the milk and sugar that they're going to need because there's going to be so many people coming.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I'm calling it Eclipse Mania for sure because, we did this beer that we called Path of Totality. We got this great logo artwork from our designer at Lemon Grenade Creative here in Hamilton. We've had T-shirts made. We had glow-in-the-dark cups made with the logo on it. And the city has allowed us to use those cups as our D.O.R.A cups on the day of the event. So, this way, when it gets dark, you'll be able to still find your beer.
Yeah. And so a couple of articles that were circulating the Cincinnati news bubble that I pay attention to was talking about how popular your beer has been. And before we started recording, you were talking about cases being sold at Jungle Gyms and T-shirts being sold. Talk to us a little bit about the popularity that you're seeing.
Yeah, I think we've always made pretty good beers. When we started the brewery, we said we wanted to operate on three principles, and it was make great beer, establish strong community roots, and educate people about craft beer. Those are the three things that we have really tried to attach ourselves to. And, the make great beer part, I think we have 31 medals in state, national, and international competitions on 15 different beers. So, I think we're really focusing on quality and putting out a good product. And when my fellow owner up in Wapakoneta a year ago said, we're in the Path of Totality, we're going to make a beer, we're going to call it Path of Totality, and we're going to put it out for the eclipse. And so we did. It's closest stylistically to a German alt beer. So it's more of this amber lager. But we used Galaxy hops in it, because that seemed appropriate so that's appropriate for an eclipse, right? You're going to use Galaxy hops. So
Right.
So it's more of this hoppy amber lager. And we presented the idea of packaging it and getting it out there to our distributor, Ohio Eagle, and they started to take pre-orders, and all of a sudden we realized they were selling more than we could possibly make. So, we kind of had to put the brakes on it and said, we're going to get this amount. You guys get this amount. you can distribute this amount, and then we need some for our tap room as well. So yeah, it went on sale, I think last Thursday. I think Jungle Gyms had 25 cases, and by Friday at like 7 o'clock, they were all gone. Locally, Noonan's locally here in Hamilton, I think they had like 10 cases or something like that, and those were gone before the weekend was over. So it's
well, congrats there.
Thank you. It's the Eclipse Mania that we're now on our third run of t-shirts. The first two runs completely sold out, where we took the Path of Totality logo and a local unsung salvage design company printed us a bunch of shirts, and they're probably getting tired of hearing from me because I keep calling them saying, can we get more? Because people are just really, they're just really liking it. And I think it's a good excuse to bring a community together for a once in a lifetime experience, because the next total solar eclipse isn't going to hit Ohio again until the year 2099.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I definitely want to say is, especially if you're hearing us on this podcast, is don't look at the sun unless you have the special solar eclipse glasses, because that's a great way to lose your vision, from what I understand, at least over time. But it's definitely something that I'm excited for. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah.
I think that I read, and I really shouldn't be admitting all of this, but I thought that you were doing some sort of community event for this day as well. Is that true?
Well, we've got a couple events coming up. We just finished, of course, our St. Patrick's Day, which was called the D.O.R.A Dash, where we partner up with the Casual Pint, and it's a 0.1 mile run, so about 300 feet, but you're doing it with a full D.O.R.A cup, and whoever spills the least wins. So we just finished that. We've got the Eclipse. We've got a couple radio stations that are going to be doing a remote on our patio. We know that Markham Park is going to have about 4,000 Eclipse glasses to view it. We'll have some, I think we have like two to 500, something like that, that will be able to view the eclipse directly from our patio. So we're going to be very welcoming for that. And then in a few weeks, well, the week after the eclipse is the Hollow Earth Festival, which is a fundraiser for Sims Park in Hamilton. And we did a donut infused Belgian golden ale where we threw like 9 dozen donuts in it. So, because this Hollow Earth Festival is kind of the one of the main proponents was Sims, who has a park in Hamilton. He's buried there, and his I guess headstone has a thing that looks like a donut on top of it. But it was his vision and his theory that the earth was hollow, and in the center of that earth was basically the Garden of Eden, and really had a lot of push to raise funds from the United States government to do an exploration to the North and South Pole. So this was, early 1800s. Where they were pushing this, but some folks decided that we were going to try and have a festival for it to help raise money for the restoration of that park. So we decided to make a beer, and what better beer than a beer with donuts in it?
Yeah, for sure.
So 2 questions. One, do you have enough beer to get through the eclipse, or do you guys have to make another batch for it?
Oh, that's a great question.
And that's the thing. We really don't. We have not started selling our 6-packs to the public yet. We let our Mug Club members, our Club 80 Mug Club members, reserve a 6-pack first. And
it's like a collectible.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we will put it on sale this Thursday. And then for draft, we have such a small amount of draft that we're not going to put that on sale until the actual weekend of the event. And
also talk to us about the community events, because I definitely feel like one of the ways craft breweries, especially in today's climate on how they're struggling, the breweries that are more community-based are really thriving and being a part of the community. Do you see that as well? Or?
For sure. We have an event that we do in August or September called Ales for Tales. We've been doing that every year, and that's a big fundraiser we do for the Butler County Animal Friends Humane Society. That is a big day for us. Our staff looks forward to it. The staff of the Humane Society looks forward to it. We get tons of cats and dogs adopted on that day. We are always looking for reasons to celebrate or bring a community together. We've got a plant swap coming up here where you can take in April, where you can take your seedlings and your plants and whatnot. And if you've got some and maybe you want something else, you just swap it with somebody else. And we usually pair up with a local shop that has, different hanging baskets and vases and things like that you can kind of decor your home. So they'll have those for sale. So yeah, we're constantly looking for reasons to bring folks together, reasons to highlight other local businesses, and just sit back and have fun and have a beer.
All right, Ohio craft beer aficionados, let's talk about what goes behind the scenes of your favorite pour. Line and Tap Beverage Services, your Cincinnati area specialists, are here to ensure that your beer is served exactly as it should be, flawless and full of flavor. This isn't about cleaning draft lines or fixing systems. It's about dedication to quality and a love for beer that matches our own. Line and Tap prides themselves on their Brewers Association standards adherence, their expert knowledge, and their friendly approach to every project. They're ready to tackle any challenge, from breweries to your local corner bar. So why wait? Visit lineandtap.com, fill out their simple form about your draft system, and let them guide you to the clear, crisp taste of perfection in every pint. Line and Tap. They're not just a service, they're your beer's best friend.
So we've talked a little bit about outdoors. So now that people can, take a beer outside of your tap room, walk around the community, go to other businesses, how has that changed the beer business for you guys in Hamilton?
For us, it was a real game changer, especially during COVID. Hamilton was an early adopter of D.O.R.A. I believe locally the first place to adopt it was Middletown, Ohio. I think Middletown and Lorain, both on New Year's Eve, everybody went outside and had a drink because that was when the legislation was passed in those municipalities. Shortly thereafter, Hamilton did it. We had, I think, at the start around 7 establishments that were D.O.R.A. And by the end of this year, we will have 33 establishments
nice.
serving D.O.R.A. in our D.O.R.A. district. I believe we have the largest acreage in Ohio. And if it's not the largest, it's pretty doggone close. Over COVID, I participated in I think it was 3 or 4 Zoom meetings with other municipalities thinking about adopting D.O.R.A. For us, it saved us because in Ohio, manufacturing was considered essential. So you didn't shut down. Our license is that of a manufacturer. We are not a bar. We are not a restaurant. So because of that, we were allowed to stay open. So we opened both garage doors and people would walk in on one side, order a beer. They would get it in the D.O.R.A. cup and be able to walk out. So that allowed us to stay open during COVID. While our distribution numbers went down to 0 because all the bars and restaurants were closed, our tap room numbers actually went up because we were one of the few places that were open. We had one employee in production that we laid off, and we laid him off for 2 weeks. That was it. Came back, and we were back at it, brewing beer, keeping the tanks full, and constantly trying to not only stay safe, but also to sell our product. But the only way we could sell our product at that time was D.O.R.A. because you weren't allowed to stay on premises for that first, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So it was a huge, huge benefit for us. And it always is because, our patio is dog friendly. So everybody goes around and walks the dog. We're very close to the Great Miami Riverway, the bike path. So
bike path,
yeah, people are constantly walking on that path and It just makes it a lot easier for us.
Was there any pushback in your door? Because I'm from Troy, Ohio. They passed their DORA. Then 2 weeks later, there was a petition going around because these old people in Troy that have nothing else better to do with their lives but to complain about alcohol in their town, even though there's been alcohol in Troy, Ohio for years, decided to, hey, this is going on the ballot. We had to vote for it. And so it got shut down for another, what, Eric? Another 6 months before we had to go vote for it, and we approved it. And now there's no issues because they thought people were going to go around peeing everywhere. It was really so. No, all the stupid things that they were saying was going to happen in this door never happened, and it's been made Strawberry Festival a heck of a lot more enjoyable now than it ever was before.
Gotcha.
So we had the same thing. I mean, in fact, there were folks saying, "Oh my gosh, your DORA district crosses the bridge. People are going to get drunk and fall in the Great Miami River. They're just going to fall right over. It's going to happen every time." I can tell you, in the 6-year history of DORA in Hamilton, that has not happened once.
Well, those walls are pretty tall, aren't they, on the bridge?
I know. They go up to your chest. I'm like, you would literally have to
be a gymnastic individual.
Yeah. It's insane. But I'll tell you what it has done is it has really opened up commerce in downtown Hamilton, in the sense of I can get a beer. I don't have to sit here and drink it and then go somewhere else. I can take that beer. I can go down the street to Wildfire, which is a little boutique store, Sarah's house. I can another boutique store. I can do my shopping there. I can just walk through the park with this beautiful park, or walk across the river, and it's fine. It's totally legal. So all these folks that are complaining about it, really, I don't think there's nothing better for them to do. And, it is a little annoying because it is a little short-sighted of them. And you know what? If they don't want to drink and walk around, then don't do it.
Earlier this year, we spoke with a woman in England. She's a Cicerone. Her name is Joanne Love. And we had a conversation about how a lot of countries in Europe, like Spain that I've been to, and she's in England. So obviously the United Kingdom, you can walk around with alcohol. And so my question is really this, and you sort of were talking about it / answering it, but talk to us a little bit about how being able to move with beer or alcohol in your hand helps not just like your business, but the overall local community.
Sure, it does, because there's only so much time in a day, and if you're going to be confined to a particular area to finish your pint, you're kind of wasting time if you were planning on shopping as well. So in this way, you can do both. If I wanted to grab a beer and enjoy the weather, or walk my dog, or whatever, I don't want to waste time. I want to grab that beer and I want to go walk my dog, or I want to go shopping. And it allows you to have more free flow with your day rather than restricted to a certain, designated area.
I read something about a hotel was going into your brewery. I was wondering how that's like, and are you guys excited that you're going to have a main lobby? You can just come get a beer at your hotel, because that sounds awesome to me.
Yeah. So first off, the Spooky Nook complex, which is a indoor sports complex that took over Champion Paper. Champion Paper in Hamilton started in the late 1800s and went out of business. It's 1.3 million square feet. And they turned that into Spooky Nook Sports. And they've got 233 hotel rooms right next to our second tap room. So now we will have hotels attached to both of our breweries, which is going to be kind of cool. But the city owns the municipal building. We have rented from them. The city has been trying to sell the building, but the city also has our back, because they said whoever buys it has to reach a long-term lease agreement with Municipal Brew Works. They did not want to see the brewery go anywhere. And we have been meeting with the hotel developers over the last few months. No issues with the lease, no issues with us being a long-term tenant. And they were kind of pitching the idea and the development of this hotel. And it looks like it is going to be a Marriott tribute brand hotel, which, there aren't a lot of tribute brand hotels from Marriott out there, but the one constant theme is they're taking a lot of these older buildings and repurposing them into these really kind of cool, eclectic boutique hotels. So, having a brewery in your hotel, that's where I want to stay.
So is this
Me
like a
too.
partnership where you'll share some of the money for people existing in that space, or are you only going to be able to sell beer?
No, we will just sell beer. We will be
Okay,
basically their tenant, just like we
gotcha.
are at Spooky Nook. So
Okay,
Spooky Nook, they own the facility. We rent our area from them.
gotcha.
But it is nice when you have your landlord generating foot traffic. We do well on our own, but my goodness, there's with all the people that are coming in with these youth sports tournaments at Spooky Nook, Hamilton has found itself woefully low on hotel beds. So the old Anthony Wayne hotel, which was it was a hotel back when it started, back in the early 1900s, I believe, and then it was like a elderly apartment complex or something like that. That's going to be a Hilton now. They're scheduling that to open. I think it's 54 rooms. That's going to open sometime, I believe, this summer. They're planning on opening that. You've got the Spooky Nook Sports Complex with their 200 and something hotel rooms, the Courtyard Marriott, which is right across the street from us, and that's really about it. So really, we have two that are active right now. One that's going to be opening soon, and then there's two more scheduled to be built on MLK and High Street. And then, of course, this Marriott tribute brand in the municipal building. So, yeah, Hamilton needed a lot of hotel rooms because these sports tournaments that Spooky Nook is bringing in, they're bringing in 8 to 10,000 people a weekend for a tournament in sports.
Wow.
Nice. So hearing about these future plans, and then we've heard the journey to where you are now. Let's take a moment to reflect and just like, you don't have to give me the thing you're most proud of because that might be hard to pick, but what's one of the things you're just most proud of that, and where this business is today?
You don't have to tell me the most specific thing, but tell me the most specific
Yeah.
thing.
I can tell you one of the most specific instances that I still get, two of them that I think about that I still get chills about. One was opening day. We really weren't sure what to expect because, like I said, there wasn't a lot going on in Hamilton, and we only had 4 beers when we opened, and the police came and shut down Market Street in front of us because the line to get a beer went into the Marriott parking lot. It
Wow.
went out
So
our
cool.
patio and across the street, and it was 45 minutes to get a beer, and there wasn't one negative word spoken. It was high fives, hugs, and handshakes, and people thanking us for believing in Hamilton and opening up this business. To me, that it really helped my psyche because the 5 owners of Municipal Brew Works, we didn't have any outside equity. We had to put our houses up on the line in order to get the funding for this brewery. So we weren't sure. We had a plan B, look, we're going to work till we're 80 to pay this off, on our day jobs. Or this is going to hit and we're going to just spend all of our time just really trying to make this brewery the best it can be. And but we didn't know until opening day. And that was really cool. And I still think about that fondly.
Yeah.
The other instance was, so I have a son who attends college, and he came home with his girlfriend, and we kind of gave him a little tour of Hamilton and showed him all around and all the different businesses and everything that were open and all the different things to do. And she said, "I love this town. There is so much to do." And I kind of welled up a little bit because when my son was born, we would, we would drive through town because there just wasn't anything to keep us in town. Now I park
Mhm.
my car in one spot and hit whatever I want to do, whether it's live concerts or you know indoor music in places, or if I want to get fine dining or craft beer or bourbons or whatever. There's an option there, and it's been absolutely one of the most rewarding experiences for me to watch all this happen while being a member of a Hamiltonian and a member of this city.
Jim, it's really really awesome to hear you speak about Hamilton. You are clearly so passionate about the city, and you have such a good you know outlook on it, and you've clearly done so much for it as a business owner. I have one last question for you, and then we'll let you go. We've spent a lot of time during this season of the Brewery Explorers podcast discussing how breweries are sort of making up for or trying different things during a down time period for the purchase of beer. And so I'm just wondering, I should have asked this earlier and I apologize, but what does the Path of Totality and its major success, how has that helped you guys from a business standpoint? And have you learned anything?
Yeah, I think we've learned, that you do need to be a bit of an entrepreneur in the business, because craft beer itself, you see the numbers, and the craft beer kind of had this incredible bubble, and everyone's saying, oh, now there's too many breweries, or there's too many beers out there, or I don't think that's the case. One, I think you have to have a good beer, but the other thing is, I think there's opportunities out there. This is a once in a lifetime experience to sit and watch a total solar eclipse in Ohio. So if you know that, market towards it, celebrate it, come up with reasons to bring a community together, especially when you can experience a once in a lifetime thing like this. So I think you just have to open your mind a little bit and not be so focused on just got to sell this beer, got to sell this style, because then you're chasing it. You're chasing styles that are trendy and popular, and maybe you're pulling away from your core of what you're really about and why you wanted to be a craft brewery. So I think it's important, to maintain focus on why. Why did you start this? Why did you do this? Um, and keep your focus on your why, and look for reasons to bring people to you. Special events, create special events. If it's something that's going to help the community, if it's, let's say, maybe it doesn't go as well as you hope, you still help the community. And if it knocked the doors off and everything did well, do it again. So it cracks me up whenever people are like, "Oh, the craft beer industry, it's going down." No, it's really not. It's what's happening is we're seeing hyper localization. Every little community now is going to have its own brewery. And if that brewery becomes an integral part of the fabric of that community, they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay there. Where I think you get into danger is whenever you get out over your ski tips. When you start promising too much, you start chasing styles, you start really pushing into major high dollar distribution. That I think that's a little bit of a tougher nut to crack. It can be done, but I think the era of these large regional breweries that are really dominant in a large portion of the country, I don't think you're going to see that as much anymore. You're going to see more of that local, and that local I don't think is going to go anywhere.
Cool. Well, Jim, thank you so much for joining our show today. This has been a fantastic conversation, and I will definitely come up to visit you shortly. Not for the eclipse. I'm afraid of humans, but soon. How can people keep up with your brewery? Do you have social media, and what's your website?
Yeah, it's www.municipalbrewworks.com. We also have a pretty active social media following with Instagram and Facebook. So you can definitely follow us there. There's pretty much always something going on. And we're always pushing something or trying to celebrate something or get people together, because that's where the fun is. You sit down with your neighbors, your friends, your family, and you pour yourself a pint and kick back, relax, and talk about the day's events.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining our show.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you for having me on. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Take care. Go Bowling Green. Cheers.
That's right. BG.
Yes.
Cheers.
Hi, Ziggy.
I word orange.
The Brewery Explorers Podcast is hosted by Blake Longfellow, Eric Burgasser, and me, Noah Jones. This podcast is a part of the NoJo Creative family and produced by me, edited by Eric. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your drinking buddies and give us a rating. Then visit Municipal Brew in Hamilton, Ohio. Visit our new website, thebreweryexplorers.com, to find our whole catalog of great beer conversations just like this one. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, cheers.